Finally then, in this last video of this week, I'm just going to talk a bit about the implications, the ontological implications of time travel. So far, as I've said, we've been talking about this in terms of a Perdurantist picture. And let's imagine that we've got a case of time travel where you travel back into your own past. So you've got a young version of yourself here, so young you, and then you've got an older version of yourself here. I'll do it with regards to myself, in fact. So let's suppose here we've got young Ben, and here we've got old Ben. So I've travelled back, and let's suppose I've grown a great big beard or something. And yeah, so we've been thinking about this on this eternalist perspective, where time is all laid out. And the first thing to say is, well, if you remember the eternalist perspective, one of the views, or the view about persistence there, is the Perdurantist view, that people are made up of different time segments. So there's a sense in which what we've got here is, now let's imagine the whole course of my life. Suppose I was born here. Ooh, there's me. And then this is the point when I travel back in time, and then I live on a bit and die. Let's say about here. Oops. So here am I with my big beard. I've got a big beard here too. This is old Ben. That's even older Ben. I'll just call it old Ben. So my worm that makes up me sort of goes to there, and then it starts back up again there. So I don't know, 1981, 2000, let's say 2050, right? And then I die here. So I suppose it's 2020, something like that. So okay, and there's no real problem with this picture, because look, okay, on the Perdurantist view, I've got a stage of me here and a stage of me here. I'm there twice over, but really it's just two parts of my temporal worm which are present at the same time, and that's just perfectly okay. But if we imagine the endurantist view instead, which perhaps goes better with presentism, on the endurantist view, we're not made up of parts like this. We're not worms made up of different temporal parts. We are wholly and completely present at each moment at which we exist. Okay? So on this view, if we just clear that off, in this view we'll imagine the time, I think I said it was 2000, so young Ben can be here and old Ben can be here, so we're in 2000. There I am with my big beard. And the point is, in this case, young Ben is literally and strictly identical with old Ben. Okay? Literally and strictly identical. That is to say, young Ben and old Ben are not just two parts of some worm, they are literally one and the same thing. So there's really only one person here. And that person is wholly located here and wholly located here. And that's a bit of a problematic view. I mean, in particular, what we've got is young Ben has a beard. Old Ben has a beard. So we say old Ben has a beard. Well, then we've got this principle, if you remember this idea that if it says that if one thing is identical with another thing, so if X is identical with Y, then fx if and only if fy, so if any property that X has, Y also has. It's just then it's going to be old Ben has a beard. Well, old Ben is identical with young Ben, so we should be able to infer from that young Ben has a beard. But that's false. So there's something funny going on here on the endurantist view. So it looks as though if we're going to allow that time travel is possible, it's easier to make sense of on the Perdurantist view, because you don't have this weird possibility of a literally and strictly numerically identical. These two things are the same thing, and it's wholly present here and wholly present here. Well, then the same thing is wholly present in two different locations with two different sets of properties. But then how do you square that with this principle, the indiscernibility of identicals? And you've got these problems with the endurantist view. So again, I can point you in the direction of some literature on that if you like, but there does seem to be something problematic about endurantism on this view. Okay. But the second thing I wanted to talk about was presentism. And if you remember, right at the beginning of these videos, I asked the question, well, what about the presentist view? What do we say about time travel on the presentist view? It's like the no-when argument, I think it gets called. And this argument that presentism is not consistent with time travel, or the no-where argument, I think it gets called, has been given by Simon Keller and Michael Nelson in a 2001 paper. They call it the no-where argument. It's probably better called the no-when. And the idea is, how can presentists travel into the past if there is no past to travel to? You can't travel to a non-existent place, so why think you can travel to a non-existent time? And in the end, I do think that it doesn't cause any problems for presentism, but it's worth saying why. So let's imagine that we've got a story whereby presentism now, 2020, here we go. We can't draw the line into the past because it doesn't exist. All that exists is the present moment. And suppose I've got a time machine and I'm about to step into it and travel, as we would put it, travel back to 1950. So what's not going to happen here is that when I step into the time machine, in fact, I kind of appear somewhere. I mean, the past doesn't exist. It's gone. It's not there. But what's going to happen is my stepping into the time machine is going to make it the case that I did exist in 1950. So we've got that's 1950. So it's not going to make it the case that I will appear in 1950 or anything like that. I mean, we could phrase it like that in personal time. But really, you've just got to make sure you tense it all. So my stepping into the time machine makes it the case that I did exist in 1950. Remember that presentists think that they can allow that past tense truths are true. I mean, they've got a problem about explaining that. That was the point of the truth maker objection to presentism. But they think they can. So they're going to think it's true in 2020 that I appeared in 1950 and that I lived on for a bit and then died, let's say. And all right, it's not true, as it were, that I will appear there now, but of course that's not really true anyway in time travel. What's true is that I will already have appeared in 1950, and they can just cash it all out perfectly well in these terms. So the key thing is, there's going to be things that happen now in the present that make it the case that other things were the case in the past, but as long as they keep everything tensed, they're going to be okay talking about time travel. That's the idea. Okay, so I think that's all I want to say for this week. I am going to be recording some more videos in due course about the different essays. So I'm going to record little videos going through each of the essay questions and talking about how you might want to approach them. And I've also said that I'm going to speak with you one-to-one if you want to about your essay. So I'm keen. It's a small enough group for me to do it. I'm keen on trying to get you all to do as well as possible. So yeah, I'll be doing that. Okay. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the seminar.